Morning. My framing slightly off. Yeah, that's better, I think. I'm gonna get a new phone. The camera on this phone fucking sucks. It sucks. I've had this phone for several years now as well. It's not a very good phone, but I just don't use it other than to check WhatsApp and call my missus. Basically, there's not much. I don't play games on it. I don't still use it much, but I would use it more. I think if I had a better camera. I think the new Galaxy thingies, S57 billion or whatever, it's got a pretty good camera on it. I wouldn't mind that. I do like to take a good picture. I want to talk today about what it means to lose to different groups of people. And obviously I'm saying this because this is the final day of the group stage of TI, and we've already lost a team. Yesterday we lost Thunder Predator. Ken said, imagine waiting 2 years for TI and then you don't even get to the main stage. That's brutal. I'm just filling up my vape while I think. And I don't know if you noticed that, I kind of did that deliberately. That's brutal. Carries on doing something. I'm not saying that we should, take a moment and pray for them, but I'm just saying, I think we kind of underestimate how brutal sport is. When people say to me they're not into sport, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, whether it's cricket, whether it's Dota, they're like, it's just a bunch of blokes kicking a ball around, isn't it? First of all, you could reduce anything to that ridiculous level of, what do they call it, reductio ad absurdum, right? Where you just say, what's life, eh? It's just eating and pooing. It's like, well, all right, well then let's just fucking kill ourselves. What's anything? What are the works of Shakespeare? Just a bunch of words on a bit of wood that you've mushed up. That's it. You've mushed up a bunch of wood into something like thin, and you just stuck all these weird squiggles on it. That's all that is. That's all Shakespeare, isn't it? Piss off. Just you don't like it. You don't have to make out that it's not worth liking. Daft. There's tons of things I don't like. I just ignore and have no comment. No, don't want anything to do with them. Just don't bring them to me. Got no interest. Why do people always have to stomp around being so angry about sport? If you really look at it, how could you not be intrigued? Not because of what it is and how it plays out, but because of the human drama involved. To ignore that and say, oh, it's just the game, not for these people. Consider this. In order to be very good at something, one of the best in your field, essentially, when it comes to Dota, you're one of the best in the world. This is a very hard game. These people have played it sometimes for years, sometimes for over a decade. They've dedicated their lives to this game, to trying to understand it, to trying to get better at it. And when you lose, think about what that must do to them mentally. I know this year is interesting because sports psychology has become a big thing. Coaching is a big thing. And I think teams are taking the game more seriously. When I think about the TIs I used to go to, how much more casual they were. If you compare TI3 to now, it's like when football was like just an amateur game played by the gentleman's team of Greenwich, and they just put these teams together and they'd all run out. I say, good morning, and they'd all have a fag before the game, and then that's that. Oh, I say, bad luck, Billy, that kind of thing. Whereas now, and that totally used to be like that, you go out after the games, you'd easily be going out with the players for a drink, like I think I was saying the other day. You go to the pub with them afterwards, you go and have dinner, or they just hang out. Practice rooms were just visible. TI4, the practice area, was just public. Not public, but all the players could watch all the other players practice. Just a bunch of computers. Not enough computers for every player, by the way. So they'd have to Bagsy the computer. They'd put like their key card on it and go up to their hotel room for a bit. Sort of Bagsy mine, and they'd stay logged in and stuff like that. It's funny. Whereas now you can't imagine that. So as the game gets more professional, and the players, in order to improve the quality for the spectator, for one thing, make it a better product, if you want to put it that way. As that happens, the money involved in it, the game goes up. The amount of dedication the players put into the game goes up. But if you think about the cost of losing, then that must also go up because of those factors. And if you're someone who's played Dota for years and is one of the best in the world, you are used to winning. You're used to winning games. Let's take Quinn, plays mid for Quincy Crew. Guy is constantly near the very top MMR. He's rotating with a few other players. Who's the top MMR player? Think what it does to him mentally to lose these games. This is a guy that is used to being a dominant player. He's used to winning. And here he is now losing. Think what that does to your confidence. Even a very confident person. If you're that good at Dota that you can go mid against the very best in the world routinely and win and keep increasing in MMR, I think we tend to be very casual about what that does to players mentally. If you are used to winning, that must suck to lose. That must really suck. Because I remember reading a thing about kids in school. And there's a tendency to think that very, very small classes are better than very, very big classes, right? A very, very small class, you think, well, that's great. There's more time one-on-one between the teacher and the student. For some kids, that's great. But for other kids, they don't want that attention to be on them. So the quieter kids are better in larger classes where they can just get on with it. And they're, in the group work, they can just sort of keep their heads down. And also, you've got to think there are other kids that they don't really like, and they can avoid them in a larger class. In a smaller class, you're stuck with those people. Like, imagine if you're working in an office with 100 people, and there were a couple of people you didn't like, you just wouldn't have lunch with them. I mean, everybody's been there. If you were in a team of 5 in a single room office, and you don't like 2 people in there, or 1 person, then you're stuck with them. You're in the same room with them all day. Drives you mad. So sometimes smaller classes are actually worse for certain people, and bigger classes are better. And equally, for some people, a bigger class means there's less attention. They need more attention. The other problem is if you are in a small town, small class, and you excel, you get used to that. You become mentally accustomed to the idea that you are clever, you are successful, you are smarter than these other people. And there's the small fish in a big pond sort of symptom when that person goes to a new school, better school, they go off to college. Suddenly, they're super mediocre. They have no idea. So I think if you are a dominant player for a year or two, playing pub games, playing in tournaments, and then suddenly everyone I've spoken to here is like, I do not know how we're going to stop these Chinese teams. They are so good. So if you haven't been playing those guys, you think, I'm amazing, I'm one of the best players in the world, and suddenly you bump into these guys and they just roll everybody. That must really ruin your confidence. That's tough to deal with. I think often we dismiss these things. It's weird. I think sports fans, in general, people think of them as being very brutal. And certainly if you look at the World Cup over the summer, England getting booted out on penalty shootout in the final, we lost. It was hard. A lot of people went all in on a couple of the players, mainly because the players were black, and there's still a lot of racist dickheads out there. But you don't think that had a massive mental cost on those lads? Every penalty shootout we've ever lost, even men like Stuart Pearce, who you think of as being this impenetrable, this is going back away, 1990, missed that penalty. You don't think that had a massive mental cost on him? Even a guy like that? course it did. So I think sometimes when people meme about teams losing, it sucks. I feel bad, but I do it myself sometimes. The human toll, the mental toll of losing and winning, it's hard. It's hard to put ourselves in their shoes, I think. And that's what it is. It's hard to empathize with something you cannot understand. I can't understand what it must feel like to play a game of Dota where the difference between winning and losing is your year being worth it and your year essentially being a waste of time and a loss-making year. So let me just quickly bring up the groups here. I'm not going to show it to you guys because you can look for yourselves. But let me look at the standings. So PSG LGD are 11-1. They've dropped one game so far in the 12 matches they played. They lost one. Thunder Predator are 0-14. They did not win a single match in the group stages. Just think how shitty those lads feel this morning. Imagine waiting 2 years and you're at TI. Because they're first TI, right? And losing all 14 games. That must just suck. That must just suck. Alliance, interesting story there. They had, I for some reason this completely missed me, and I admittedly do not follow the pro Dota scene as closely as people that are working those events. And generally speaking, if I'm in a position to spend time sat at a computer, I'll play Dota or I'll play a game rather than watch things. I like to play things more than I like to watch them. Especially Dota. If I have time, I'll be streaming, I'll be playing. That's just, for me, a better use of my time than, hold on, turn off my alarm. Sorry, the finger looks massive when you're reaching up like that. Look at that. Look at that. The people that I know that follow the pro scene, they put a lot of hours into it. They spend a lot of time watching those games. Now, if you're working those events, obviously you're following those storylines. You're seeing how they do in the tournaments. You're seeing, like if I was really watching full football matches, I tend to just watch highlights. I don't have time to sit there or I don't want to sit there for 2 hours. Build up, 45 minutes, half time, 45 minutes, all that. It's 2 hours on a Sunday. I could be streaming or I could be doing something. So I tend not to sit and watch things. There are periods where I do, in the evening, before dinner, watch some telly with Mrs. F, watch a TV show. That's the other thing, there's so many TV shows to watch. How am I meant to fit having a family life, working as a streamer at home, watching all the new movies and TV shows that I want to watch, and following Pro Dota, which is a very lengthy game to follow. I mean, I've been following these games today, the last few days, I should say, in the group stages. It's an all-day job, sitting and watching those games, following the storylines, seeing all the teams. Very hard to do. So if you're not working the event, or if you prefer watching games to playing them, it's very hard to follow. So TI is really, or any tournament I go to, that's my chance to really get a look at these teams, get to know them, So the story about Alliance that I didn't see was that they had PPD as a coach. There was this event where he basically was an in-game coach, and people were like, "You can't do this," and they were like, "Check the rules." And ESL confirmed, "Yeah, that's, for whatever reason, that's in the rules." So now PPD's left, and Alliance are 4-12. They've won 4 games and lost 12. They haven't looked anywhere near as dominant as they did during the season, which is interesting for a few reasons. First of all, it shows that PPD was obviously a very good coach. But that's interesting. That's an interesting storyline. And I think every tournament like TI throws up a few of those. But then people kind of focus on the memes and stuff like that. I think Thunder Predator should I'm not going to say hold their heads high, because they lost every game. It's the usual kind of stuff we talk about. But there's a reason that we have teams bringing in people like, say, Dr. K, who's here, with EG. Because even a team that you think of as being a big, successful, unstoppable professional team, they're not going to tilt, they're not going to get worried. Of course they get tilted and worried. These guys are horrified about the idea of not doing well at TI. Their whole year hinges off it. And EG have won 8 and lost 6. That, on paper, given that IG are 13-1, you're looking at that and thinking, holy shit, guys. I don't think we're going to win TI. You know, that's what your brain is telling you. This is going to be a rough day for a lot of teams. They're going to really struggle. But then on the main event day 1, that's when it gets really brutal. This is like the prelude. So as scary as the group stages are, and as scary as 2 teams going home is for those teams, we might have playoff games today where teams have to play one game to decide which of them goes forward and which of them goes home. But then we've got a day off tomorrow, and then the first day of the main event, teams will be going home. On the first day of the main event. That is going to be a sad day for a lot of people. Rough to watch, but I can't help it. I fucking love those games. I'm not going to lie. They are the most exciting. Because we need stakes. As a viewer, you need a high stake in a thing to be interested in it. You have to be playing for something. There has to be a storyline behind it. In this case, wait 2 years for a TI. Some of these teams, their entire career is hinging on this. For some players, whether they continue being professional Dota players full-time might be hinging on these games. So as horrifying as that is, those high stakes make these games so hype, and it makes me feel incredibly guilty to say that. But that's the nature of sport, I guess. Anyway, what a rambling episode. I just felt like I had to kind of work through that mentally. Thank you for being here and helping me with it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.